tell you something. We're not going to be oppressed anymore.
MCC has been highly visible and vocal on human rights as well as religious issues since it began in 1968.
It's an article about a restaurant in Los Angeles with a sign that says, "Faggots, keep out." The gentleman who put this sign up in this restaurant said he thinks homosexuals should be shot. These are his own words in Life magazine. We're told, of course, this sign today is a joke. We don't consider it a joke any more than white-only signs are, Mexicans and dogs keep out, this sort of thing. Nice. Homosexuals are people, too.
MCC rapidly became one of the most influential gay institutions in America, taking a leadership role in the struggle for political rights for gays and lesbians. This was one of the earliest demonstrations in Los Angeles.
I'm standing around that says we're not afraid anymore. And I want to tell you we're not afraid anymore. I'm not. I'm going to see some laws passed in this state. I have prayed to my God, asked my God, and I have the assurance some things are going to happen.
Perry's early autobiography, The Lord is My Shepherd and He Knows I'm Gay, argued convincingly that it is possible to be both gay and Christian. It legitimized gay pride for many.
This is Christopher Street West Celebration Day. Last year, a group of homosexuals rioted in the city of New York against the oppression that they felt there. We've decided to make it an annual day for homosexuals all across the nation. In cities other than Los Angeles, in New York, where it actually happened at, San Diego, San Francisco, Chicago. There's celebrations in the same vein as the Watts Summer Festival here, which celebrate the start and end of the Watts riots in this city, when society became aware of the problems of the blacks. In that same vein, homosexuals hope to impress upon society that we have our problems too. I'm afraid my private parts are my own, and what I want to do with them is my business and not the laws.
As an adjunct to his fiery oratory in support of gay and lesbian rights, the Reverend Perry took up public fasting as a means of social protest. Meanwhile, the good news was spreading and the church was growing. New congregations were formed in 8 other cities in the U.S. during the first year, including San Francisco.
One of the oldest traditions in the Christian church is the Kiss of Peace, and one which we especially like to participate in at MCC. Following the instructions of the Apostle Paul, will you greet each other with a kiss of peace?
An international fellowship of churches was incorporated in 1970, complete with bylaws, moderator, board of elders, a missionary branch, and a seminary to train new clergy. In 1971, Troy led a march from San Francisco to Sacramento to dramatize the need for passage of the Sexual Freedom Bill. As the church grew and spread across the United States, it began to attract the attention of the national media. Time, Life, and Newsweek all reported MCC's unique message. Gay men and lesbians were taking a second look at the scriptures and were coming back to God. As the first piece of property ever owned by a gay group in North America, the Mother Church at 22nd and Union in Los Angeles was a source of pride for the homosexual community. In the early hours of a January morning in 1973, the Mother Church mysteriously caught on fire and was totally destroyed. During the next 12 months, 4 more MCC meeting places burned to the ground. 32 people lost their lives in one fire. Over a dozen MCC gathering places have been destroyed by fire. Others have been vandalized, robbed, and defaced with obscenities. But like the early Christians, the Metropolitan Community Church won't give up. In 1975, MCC opened a field office in Washington, D.C. to educate Congress and the federal government on gay and religious issues. It also served as a center for ecumenical relations and Christian social action. Troy Perry was invited to the White House twice with other gay leaders to discuss gay rights with the president's staff. In 1977, Senator John Briggs tried to get homosexuals and their supporters ousted from California's educational system. MCC members all over the state joined other gay groups to fight Proposition 6, which would have been one of the most repressive pieces of legislation in the history of the United States. Troy Perry co-chaired the Concerned Voters of California Coalition against the Briggs Initiative and fasted for 16 days to raise $100,000 to mobilize a media campaign. Briggs was defeated. homosexuals and human rights claimed another victory. The non-discriminatory stance of the fellowship appeals to many non-gay Christians as well. 20% of church members are not homosexuals, including some clergy. The Reverend June Norris, a former Seventh-day Adventist, was married for 29 years before answering her call to MCC's ministry in 1972.
But I can relate to parents who find it very difficult when they hear that their sons or daughters are homosexual. I can relate to the spiritual feeling that people have when they know that they've been taught all their lives you cannot be a Christian and be gay. I thank God that I'm home. I thank God that I have the opportunity to see the joy on the faces of sisters and brothers who thought they were forever lost from God because they knew that they were gay. I believe people are born gay. That is my belief. I realize that we have some who are totally homosexual and some who are somewhere in between. But that's all right. God made all of us. God made us the way we are. And I think God expects each one of us to reach our full potential.
My name is Jesus. And my body has this.
Such a time as this has also introduced AIDS, the acquired immune deficiency syndrome that has affected, among others, the gay male population, particularly in the United States. AIDS has captured the attention of the media internationally and has sparked the fervent imaginations of the religious righteous in America.
I know that there are a lot of television evangelists who say that AIDS is God's gift to the gay community. I don't believe that AIDS is God's gift to gay people any more than I believe that sickle cell anemia is God's gift to blacks, toxic shock syndrome is God's gift to women, or Legionnaire's disease is God's gift to members of the American Legion. Our denomination will provide continuing education regarding AIDS and other health-related issues. We will continue educating elected politicians and request that they give the funds necessary to combat this disease. We are going to spend time in our churches discussing the facts and fears, the feelings and the fallacies surrounding this disease during this health crisis.
Although the first Christian denomination to be organized around the issue of sexual orientation, that is not the main focus of MCC. The message is God's love for everyone. The church preaches a three-pronged gospel, emphasizing salvation, community, and Christian social action. What does the Bible say about homosexuality?
A growing number of responsible biblical scholars suggest that Scripture does not condemn all homosexual behavior any more than it condemns all heterosexual behavior. Experts point out that the word homosexual does not occur in the original Greek and Hebrew language of the Bible. And some highly respected authorities conclude that these biblical passages condemn only those sexual acts that are hurtful, unloving, and exploitive. That's the message of Metropolitan Community Church. And that's the reason why we believe that God has placed us here for such a time as this.
But let me tell you something. The Apostle Paul concerned himself with Phallic cults that existed in this time period. He condemned temple prostitution. There's no blanket condemnation of homosexuality in any of those scriptures, just those things. And as we read the words of Jesus, they make the difference for us. Why? Because there's nowhere in the gospel, nowhere, where Jesus ever condemned homosexuality. Not in one place. Jesus could have condemned homosexuality, but he didn't. When he was asked one time, what's the great commandment? He didn't say, thou shalt not commit adultery, even thou shalt not kill. He could have, but he didn't. He said, the great commandment is this, and on this hangs all the law and the prophets. The first commandment is you're to learn to love the Lord thy God with all of your heart, your mind, and your strength. And the second is likened to the first. You're to learn to love your neighbor as yourself. Brothers and sisters, I tell you this day, if we could learn that lesson, if we could just learn to live by those two commandments, everything would be all right.
Unquestionably, one of the main issues in society today, and certainly within all churches, is that of the full participation of women at all levels, including leadership.
One of the things we're realizing is that in lesbian culture today, in women's culture, the whole issue of spirituality is becoming an important one, and that is something that we can tie into and relate to as Christian lesbian feminists.
Male-oriented language is deeply embedded in the patriarchal attitude of traditional Christianity. Inclusive language simply means attempting to introduce non-sexist language into the liturgy and literature of the church. It remains a high priority issue with the fellowship, who are attempting to make all people feel at home at MCC.
To this he cried till time shall end.